is June Waters, and I am a newly Wendy's Wonderful Kids adoption recruiter for Helping Hand Home here in Austin, Texas. Resource Global really healed a huge wound of mine. And by doing the Gospel Action Plan, I had to dig deep. I had to think about, okay, there's this big shadow cloud over me, and how is that going to part into a rainbow? And where am I going to see the promises that God has said? And that's what mentorship and the Gospel Action Plan helped me overcome and see it in a way that's the truth. My Gospel Action Plan was, and it's continuing to be, a work in progress. So I first had this idea of how can we be more, resourceful, or provide more resources for foster care youth, foster families, because I also read that 51% of foster parents quit the first year or after the first year because they don't have a support system. And I was just like, okay, I know all this information, but how would God want me to make a difference? So that was first my Gospel Action Plan. And then it turned into, I started writing Dear God in June letters, and I would do the 40-day prayer challenge, and I would write out my prayers. And I thought, there's been a lot of transformation with that in Resource Global. What if I made a blog and I just put all of my thoughts and everything I'm doing with foster care there, and people can read and see, and maybe they would be encouraged or inspired to do their own part in their own community with foster care and adoption. And then that has turned into working in this field and being on the other side of it. Resource Global not only changed my life, but saved my life. I was on a path to self-destruction on how unhappy I felt, how miserable I felt. And to be surrounded by a community where we all did self-reflection to see how can we honor the way that work was meant to be. We saw in the beginning that God worked and he was joyful and he was at peace, and we have this cycle of working and rest. And it's how can we do that in our day-to-day life and feel like we are doing something impactful and doing something meaningful? And I would say that there's amazing people in Resource Global that want to do that exact thing. And that's the mentors. They want to pour into these mentees. They want to show us what they've learned in their careers and their walk of God, and how we can start doing that now as their mentee. And for me, it's anybody who has this, who maybe have church hurt or faith hurt, or may feel like they were hopeless. I think that Resource Global is the perfect place if you have questions about, how can I live in God's will versus the world and with all this pressure and with the success. One thing Resource Global has given me is community, a really broad community across the globe, which is really incredible. I was still connected with Monica, my mentor, and I became a triad leader for the other cohort. And I went to South Africa with Resource Global. And it was really cool because a lot of from 2021 also went, and a lot of the mentors from that time. And so I got to reconnect with them and see them in person, not just on Zoom. So that was pretty cool, to see each other and hang out with each other. And then I'm on the advisory council for Resource Global. And anything that they ask, I'm yes, sign me up. So I feel for me, community with Resource Global has been really beneficial for me and impactful. I still meet with a couple of them, one-on-one. Maybe we'll go for coffee here and there, and just continue to talk about what our plans are and what we've learned.